Okay, so I figured I'd make it a little bit more clear since the comments in the channel sort of seem to suggest that. Here's my personal theory, personal opinion. It makes the most sense to me, and maybe it'll make some sense to people listening. The Zara stunt does not make sense. I think Louis looks so uncomfortable. Again, I'm completely speculating because I don't know the guy. All I can say is he looks so uncomfortable that even totally uninvested, disinterested, usually like not commenting body language experts who don't follow him have weighed in and said that they look like they're disconnected. I mean, look at some of the recent British entertainment press that are even suggesting that they're already bored with each other. Well, you know what? A picture's worth 1,000 words. You don't really need to remind us because I think it is that obvious. I mean, people who don't even have an affinity for reading body language, even they would see this. But I think the reason this is happening is really actually quite consistent. I think it's Well, here you got to follow the money. Sam, who is Zara's ex, is going to be involved in the soccer aid in June. Louis has done the soccer aid or soccer related charity stuff before, so he loves his soccer, aka football. So this is serving a purpose. One, it'll bring buzz to soccer aid. It'll inevitably bring buzz to his next album. And just watch some of the paid influencers, bots, whatever you want to call it, suggest that Zara inspired some of the music, and then of course that's going to rally up all the Larrys and say no, it's Harry because it is Harry, and this will help Zara reform her image, and he's doing her a favor because she's friends with his little twin sisters. Well, they're not so little anymore, but you know what I mean. And then his twin sisters are gearing up for a reality show project and some other media stuff, and they're friends with Zara. So do you see the money trail here? Where this makes complete sense to me is that Louis, being the ever protective, helpful older brother who likes to take care of everyone, especially his little siblings, um, this is basically a favor for the sisters, and it's sort of paying dividends because it's going to basically boost their projects. Like their reality show could debut to some really amazing ratings. So that's why he's doing it. In my opinion. I don't know. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying this is the most logical explanation that is consistent with my perception of Louis. And my perception of Louis is really my perception of Louis. But he has taken care of his family. And I said in the other video, he sent the two twins to a pretty posh private school after their mom passed. Now, Louis didn't have to do that. He chose to do that. How many times do you hear stories of people that have the means but uh, but don't lift a finger? So this makes the most sense to me. And this is this notion of sacrifice, which this kid, well, he's not a kid anymore, but Louis has been doing that his whole life. And that's just a continuation of it. And I would expect nothing less. I really wouldn't. I don't think the sisters are begging him as their big brother to help them. I think they probably said, "Hey, can you help me out?" Because that's what siblings kind of do if they've got that kind of relationship. But I don't think that they had to beg and plead. I think he just uh, and I think it's like a year and a half ago. Was it Phoebe? Oh God, I can't remember now. One of the twins had their first baby, had a little girl. So and the baby, I think the middle name of the baby is Joanna, which is their mom's name. And again, I can totally see how Louis, always thinking about everybody else, knowing his little sister is like also a mom now, and he just can't help it because that's who he is. That's kind of his character. Oh God, yeah. Like, damn it, of course. Like, the sisters have done very well. Uh, they've they're not hurting for money, but you know, people that grow up in the circumstances that Louis did, like in a council flat in the middle of England, in Yorkshire, they don't forget what it was like to really struggle. And as rich as some of these people become, it's not unusual when you look at stories of other people with similar trajectories. They never forget what it was like. It doesn't matter how many years it's been and how many more years they've been rich compared to how many years that they weren't. But the that memory is so visceral that they won't forget it. Um, so of course he would naturally jump at the chance to help the twins. And this Zara thing kind of is a pretty good formula. I mean, as much as we're mad at the marketing people in the Louis camp, it sort of does mathematically make sense. But it, even even before his twin sister became a mom, he was really really protective and took care of her and all of them. But then more so now that she's the one with the youngest grandchild, right? I think that's the most recent grandkid in the family among the siblings. So if you think about it, this is an obvious, like, of course it, of course this had to happen. It's almost an inevitability. So for the people that seem to be confused, I hope this actually unconfuses you, because I was thinking, like, Louis been consistent. He had to be very consistent all those years while he was biding time and like setting up, well, not a trap, but setting up an exit strategy and implementing it and executing it. From concept to execution is a long game. He played a long game to get out of that psycho contract, right? So don't think he's not playing the long game with setting up his family the way, like, for some stability, because Lottie has been on, I think she was on some morning show in the UK where she said that when she was 16, she was finished school. Her mom said, if you want to be a makeup artist, you need to go on tour with your brother and learn from the pros. And Lottie had said, my mom, she really set me up to kind of really take off. And that tells you that line of thinking is probably still operating there. And you know, somebody in the comment section said that Louis' mom was a real scrapper, and what how Louis' mom guided his sister Lottie to her career. I can see she probably guided Louis in similar ways. It was his mom that encouraged him to go on X Factor, actually. So that this is how generational wealth gets built, and he's always going to look out for his sisters, no matter how old they are. He's the oldest. So this Zara thing makes absolutely perfect sense, because if it is not really all for him, if the main beneficiary of the stunt in terms of conversion into social media and viewership to increase earnings is going to 90% benefit the twins, especially the one that's a new mom, absolutely. Like, yeah, of course he would do it. In fact, thinking of it from this perspective, I would be more shocked if he didn't do it. So maybe Zara's not our favorite cup of tea, and she's kind of like a shocking choice. But if you really, really look at it, it was the perfect constellation of events. Now, Louis looks uncomfortable in Costa Rica, and Zara kind of does too. But it's all for the greater good, right? Zara's out for herself, but Louis is there for the sisters. And, he probably has a friendship with this Zara chick. Um, I still kind of prefer Eleanor as a friend for him, because I felt Eleanor was much more classy. Um, and there was something genuine about Eleanor. But long story short, you know, maybe Zara's got a couple of business acumen tricks up her sleeve, and we just don't know about it yet. And Louis learns. So I don't think that. with everything he's gone through, that Louis is just being throwing caution to the wind, and I don't see this as ruining his image. I mean, it's kind of like different, but I don't. I mean, it's not like he's involved with someone that's like Diddy or anything. Shit. So yeah, I mean, I actually don't care how far this stunt goes. I mean, honestly, if this stunt somehow, again, he's playing the long game like he has already done in the past. He's got tricks up his sleeve, and even if this is not a stunt, guess what, people? Louis is a human being, and he's not always going to do what the fans want. You can love someone, and they can also drive you crazy, and you could absolutely hate what they're up to right now. And I think that that happens in parasocial relationships too. It's no different than your best friend sometimes gets on your nerves, right? And that, I think, is somewhat what happens with the Larrys, with Louis. But I do think Louis is trying to expand his audience, and it's not that he's like leaving the old audience behind. I think your audience is always, it's a moving target. It's a living system. If you look at the fans of a lot of longtime artists, the ones that just have like a very varied appeal without looking all over the place, they pick up fans along the way. So it's like a scaffolding effect. The legacy fans who were there from the beginning, they're there, but then over time, the fandom gets new members that have slightly different, uh, aesthetic interests, because maybe that person is playing around with their sound. But the fact is, if it's growing his fan base, that's great. You know, ultimately, it's going to result in Louis finally getting the recognition he deserves, and that's really, as a fan, that's what we want.